I appear to have plenty of battery. Okay.
Good.
All right. Marvin Scott. And would you just give me just a little background, if you would, of personal, professional, just a little background?
Okay. I received my doctorate when I was 26 and went immediately to Boston University. Had many choices, but I chose Boston because of the youth there and the kind of concerns that people expressed. Stayed at Boston University 11 years, and after 11 years, I pursued other ventures, including being at the Board of Regents of Higher Education, where I served as the political liaison between the chancellor and the system, and headed the 5-college initiative, which consisted of Hampshire College, Andover, UMass, Smith, and there's one more. Gee, I can never.
That's okay, there's a bunch of them there. Overall, what would you say can you hit the couple of big things professionally that you've done that you would put on a resume? What would those be? Education, okay. And?
Well, I've done political things. I've run for public office. I've also been liaisons in several situations. I think being president of the Indianapolis Waterworks is a big accomplishment.
Okay, good.
I was on the board for 4 years, and then I was president of it, which was a job of running a municipal.
Sure.
And I tangentially ran the Boston Public Schools when it was in difficulty.
Okay.
On behalf of the federal court when it was in receivership.
Okay. Personally, you're married. How long have you been married?
I've been married 19 years to my present wife.
Okay. Children?
Yes, have 4.
Okay.
My oldest boy went to Naval Academy.
Okay.
And finished at Morehouse College because he wanted to get a billet to fly.
Okay.
And my daughter has her doctorate from the University of Miami in marine molecular biology and genetics. I have a stepson who finished Butler and has been in Crusades for Christ and wants to do missionary kinds of things.
Okay.
Has 2 children, and I have an 18-year-old who resides at our residence.
Okay, so still one at home.
And he'll be going to Butler in the fall.
Okay. All right. So let's start with qualifications. What do you think qualifies you to be mayor of Fishers?
Well, I think my contacts on Capitol Hill, number one, in order to get monies that could flow here and to discover where they are. I lobbied for Amtrak. We brought back billions of dollars for Amtrak as a part of the governor appointed me to the Midwest Interstate High-Speed Passenger Rail Commission. And I've served diligently on that for many years. Also, I've been on the National Council for the Humanities, which is a big deal because you're voted on by senators and they approve you and then you serve. And I did that for I think 3 or 4 years, which is not only an honor, but it also gave me greater fervor in terms of understanding how the political process works and being an actual part of it via committees and other kinds of things. So I have a vast amount of knowledge on Capitol Hill, and I want to bring my expertise to bear on the position as being the first mayor of the city of Fishers, Indiana.
Okay. What qualities do you feel you bring to the office that the other candidates do not?
I don't know them personally to be able to say that.
Okay.
I'm not a petty bureaucrat by any stretch of the imagination. I've been a college president, which would go on my resume. I was able to transform an entire institution. I think I'm a visionary. One of the programs I created made Good Morning America. It made New York Times, and Ebony Magazine did an extensive article on it. People talk about helping women. I did it. I brought single parents to the campus. Lilly Endowment gave us $1 million in matching funds for the program. I raised $2.5 million in a month for the program. Completely transformed the culture of that community and brought these young women in so they could bring their children with them and they could receive a college education.
Okay. What is the single most important issue facing Fishers, do you think?
I think controlling growth, and that is making it strategic to the mission of the town, making sure that it's not helter-skelter, or things are not put in strategic locations so people can access it. I think, and I put in my brochure, for instance, we need a Lord and Taylor as an anchor in one of our malls. We need to have notoriety so that Fishers is a destination. This is where people come. The museum that we have over here, where we have memorabilia and that kind of thing held, should be made an attraction, along with the approval of that, of course, by the people who own it. There are a lot of things that we can do, but that's not a problem. Those are opportunities. I think sustained growth, job creation. Another thing that we need to do if we're going to be distinct is to look at new energy sources and ways of generating energy for the community. I think we need to improve our infrastructure, and we can do that to the extent we're able to find federal monies and outside monies that can make that happen. For instance, a lot of this mass transportation issue is going to be a problem. There are just too many cars right now. It's just too many. I like Mayor Daley over in Chicago. He took the 2 inside lanes and put a L that runs downtown. We've either got to do that, or we're going to have to go along and make sure that people cannot cross the railroads and make it so that it's a straight shot downtown. I think each municipality should take on several of those gradings and figure out how you're going to not go over them. Once we solve that problem, we can have transportation to downtown Indianapolis in no time. And we must admit, Indianapolis is the hub of this whole thing. It is the capstone. So we've got to play along with them in order to get the kinds of services and things that we need to make a difference in this town. So I don't see it as a problem. I think it's organization that makes a difference. And I want to make sure that the organization that is around me is one that is receptive, understands the problem, and that we have contact with people who are world-class designers.
Okay. What do you hope to accomplish in the first year? As I understand it, it's going to be a quick year because you have to, whoever wins will have to be campaigning again to run again. So first year, what would you hope to accomplish?
Well, first of all, I want to get a clear identity as to job descriptions of each person who works in the mayor's office, and to make sure that we have accountability. And after that, I want to be able to talk about the incubators that they attempted to do, is to have them and the buildings in place. I think we have to have buildings, we have to have some sizes in order to bring people in. We have a lot of talented scientists in our community. I think those people should serve on committees that can give us a clue as to where we go. I'd want to become a supplier for the companies that are already here. For instance, some of the companies, the chemical companies and drug companies, a lot of their materials are brought in from out of state. Can we blow glass and make flask for them? Just those kinds of things. To be a local supplier will increase the job potential. I think the jobs are already here. We just have to make sure we can identify them and we can supply the backup to make it happen.
Okay. Kind of a two-part question. Why is Fishers a good community? What makes it special? And on the other end of that, what are the problems?
Okay. I don't know if you heard my poem that I read last time on Fishers. I think it's a wonderful place. It is strategically located along Interstate 69, where we have access. We have rail access also. I think those are the things that make it unique. I think it's a good place for young families to come in and raise their children. We have a tremendous school system which has to be maintained, and I will see that it is. Those kinds of things make it attractive to the outside world. That's why we come in number 5, number 10, and all as the most favorable place to live. But we have to guard those numbers very carefully to make sure we don't slip. And the way you don't slip is that you provide opportunities for people. One thing that has troubled me greatly is that sort of cookie cutter in terms of the people who are coming into the community. There's nothing wrong with that. People of like minds flock together. But we have an underclass that's not being served who works in our community. For instance, firemen. I think in each subdevelopment there should be one plot of land set aside for a policeman or a fireman who can get it at a rate at which they can afford and can be a part of our community. I'd rather have a fireman coming from one of our developments as opposed to coming from Brownsburg to put out a fire. It's that kind of sensitivity that we need to have. If they're good enough to work here, their children should have a good enough opportunity to advance themselves in our society. So I think there are a lot of things that we can do to sort of amalgamate the culture, not talk about it and just stoke the fires, but actually be a part of change in this society.
Okay. Long range, can you describe the Fishers of 10 years from now?
That Lord and Tail, as I talked about, I want to have in place. Public transportation is going to be a key issue of anything that I do to make sure that people can access the community with relative ease, can get to work with relative ease. Some of the leading minds in urban planning and transportation are right here at IU. I want to employ those people. They do most of their work overseas in Bern, Switzerland, and in France and other kinds of places that are exotic. They talk about people in Europe parking their cars during the weekday and taking public transportation and only drive their cars on the weekend. Well, that's the kind of society we need to begin to look at. We haven't even thought about it. I mean, if you're out there on 465 trying to get somewhere during rush hour, you can forget it.
So you see public transportation, mass transportation being a part of Fishers in 10 years?
Absolutely. What I was talking or speaking to previously was not crossing the rails. There are now some tracks that have been finally finished in the southern parts of the United States where you can't cross the line. And this is going to be the network of high-speed rail. These trains are going to whip along at almost 200 miles an hour, and they are just about 6 months away. But it took them 5 years to do that. If we started tomorrow, we're going to be 5 years out, and you're talking about 10 years. I want to be there at that celebration. I am a train person. If you come to my house, you'll see an attic, not an attic, but a 3-car garage distance with nothing but about 15 trains running at one time. I understand trains. I've gone around the world to travel on them, from Shanghai to Lima, Peru, to all over Europe. There's a train I haven't been on. Australia on the Gange. It's what made America. And we have pulled away from that nexus, that this is who we are. We can get from one place to another. Mm-hmm. Instead, we're talking about ending service in many of the western states. I don't think there's an option. We have to maintain Amtrak. We have to maintain the service. Freight is important. I think we need to talk about putting more tractor trailers on trains and having hubs where they can go out, which are closer, instead of driving these insane distances across the country.
So Fishers of 10 years from now will have mass transportation. What else? What do you? That my question is, describe Fishers of the future. How it will look, how it will be made up.
Alternative energy. I am now, as I came through, concerned about the location of the quote-unquote downtown. It's too congested. If we want to be New York City, then we should change the name to Fishers of New York City. It's with all the land we have, and I say this over and over again, Indiana is the identical size of Portugal with half the population. Yet and still we build everything so close, it's almost ridiculous. And our downtown now shows that. And to choose a site on a busy interstate exit is going to cause problems. And it's going to take a really creative person to come in and redesign that. I would think in another 10 years that the center of the city will have to move
Okay.
for greater access. And I think it should be in a spacious area where people can easily access it.
Okay. Finally, why do you want to be mayor?
Okay. First of all, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It gives a endpoint in many ways to my career, serving people. Having a government that includes people, that's inclusive, and one that has a transparent mayor. There's nothing you can't ask me, there's nothing you can't want to know about. And I think all people should have influence on what we do in this city. And most cities don't have that. We must have immediate response from citizens in terms of complaints about things that are not handled well. And I've sat at the feet of masters and learned how to do that. So I think I come with a set of skills that no one else has. I've lived a long life, and I have lived in terms of looking at comparative situations. You know, it's one thing, I lived in India a year, and it's one thing I always say, we have a lot to learn from India in terms of its education system, but more particularly in terms of how it handles population. And I don't think we have taken those lessons seriously, but there are some major institutions that have looked at that. And of course, traffic is one of the major problems that we confront. And we are going to have to change that formula. In Los Angeles, they made a big mistake when they just simply paved over the green line, red line, blue line, and yellow lines. You could get anywhere you wanted to get to, along with the streetcars and the trolley cars and the other means of transportation that they had. And it's unfortunate, but that's what Los Angeles has become. And now they're fighting back by putting up rail systems on the red line that goes around the city. I had a chance last year to take a closer look at that. But it's what we're going to have to do, like it or not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right.